got this? That's the right answer. Just thank you all for sharing. So here's our purpose for today. It is exactly what you signed up for from your form, your Google form. We're here to learn, understand, and ask questions about our diversity, inclusion, and belonging and GLI efforts in the district. And I'm going to start slowing down now because it's always the comment, slow down. So I'm slowing down now. This is our agenda. It's there, and once it leaves, it's also on the board here because it will leave in just a moment. But we're going to do a community connector check. We're going to talk about our purpose and agenda. We're doing that now. The next slide, we'll talk about our community agreements, how we will be in this space. Then I'll do this presentation. During that presentation, I'm going to ask you to bear with me to get through the whole thing. You have cards in front of you. I don't want you to forget questions, comments, or anything like that. But if we stop the whole time, I might not get to everyone or everything. So I'm going to ask you to bear with my voice. And I'd like you to send me happy thoughts because I got to listen to me for the whole thing, right? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask, or don't forget now, that if you start writing and you're going to want some follow-up to talk later, I actually do want your comments and your questions. But especially if you want follow-up, if we don't get to everything today, I'm not sure that we will, I'm going to ask that you put your name, your phone, and your email on your card. On the table over there, there's a basket. You'll drop those in case you don't get done with everything. There's a good chance we won't. But it's 90 minutes, and we could fix the world in that amount of time. We probably would have done it already. And we'll give the updates, then we'll do questions and answers. So let's talk about our community agreements while we're together. We're here to listen, to understand, right? In a little bit, I'm forcing you to do that. I'm going to talk and ask you to write so that you can reflect and not miss the things that you want to talk about, but to hear and understand. We're going to expect and accept, not closure. Again, I don't know all the things we're tidying up, but we certainly want to learn and understand. What you're going to be provided with is information about what's going on in the district. How you feel about it, next steps, all of that. That may not happen in our 90 minutes today. So we need to just kind of expect and accept that. Just talked about the follow-ups. That was my reminder to make sure you write that down because there's a chance we won't get there. Sometimes in discussions, they don't hit everyone, and it's not okay. I don't mind following up. Some of that follow-up looks like an email. It might be a phone call, and we might have to sit down and chat, and I'm okay with that. Any of those follow-ups, depending on what you ask, that also means that what you bring up in this space, I will have to say and be able to say, gosh, that's a really good question. I don't know yet. I'll find out for you. Let's talk about this in a different forum. That's not for this segment. And that's just being honest with you and upfront. I will be honest. And if it's something I don't know, I'm gonna say it. Okay? Now watch your airtime, except for me, which I would totally be okay switching with you. Watch your airtime so that we're gonna make it so that we go to each table and ask a question and go back and forth so we can make sure that we get airtime for everyone. Assume positive intent. If you're here on a school night in this district, you're here, you love your kids. So no matter who's talking and at what time, this is about our children, right? So we're gonna assume positive intent. And all voices are welcome here, okay? All right. Okay. So this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Equity Community Council. And these are the people that are there. So this is usually time when we are meeting. And the Equity Community Council is comprised of Nate Place and Wade. He has children on the eastern side. Victor Holt, who is not here tonight, he has children on the northern side. Eva Lachey, who is our community representative. Mallory Ninemeyer, who is our board representative. Kate Pinkham, who is from the central side. And Michelle Schellenberg, who's also from the central side. She's over there. And what we've been doing over the past year, everything is new from my role in my events. This is the beginning of my third year. The first year was a bit of a lateral holes. Last year we put some things in place. So over the last course of the year, I've met with this group and some that are now have graduates and are gone. And so everyone is not the same. But what we do is they hear about what's going on in the district. And so they ask questions, provide suggestions. Hey, Tamasha, might it be time that we update the website? How do we get this information to parents? People will want to understand this. And so this group is specifically to say, what is going on in the district? Let's talk about that, give me more information, have that conversation. With the change in our GLI consultants this year, we know that we didn't have a space already created because it was new, it wasn't expected, to invite parents in, and we said, hey everyone, we have a lot of parents that are interested in this work more. We have parents going, what is this again? I've never heard of it, and what is this about? And so we said, why don't we, since we're already meeting, invite people to come in and talk and hear what's going on. And so you're here tonight because it's one of our meetings, but because you want to hear it, and we have heard you, and that's why we're here. All right, those are anything. Hopefully we're just going to talk. I'm not going to put them on the spot, but they also will help you. Like Tamasha, don't forget. So they'll help me if I'm going too fast or forget things. So why is there even a diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging initiative in the district? Why was there even GLI to start with over 15 years ago? It's because of our vision. Our vision for this district is all learners achieving individual potential, right? That is our vision. It's also because of our mission statement, which I'll take the time to slowly read in partnership with our community courses. Public schools will provide all learners with opportunities to acquire the knowledge, skills, and experiences necessary to build meaningful and productive lives. And because of our guiding principles that are there written that you've seen. So the why I stand here, why I said yes to the role, why I applied to the role, is because why is the same as your why, hopefully that you have your children here, is because we said we want to do this for all children. And this is an excellent destination district. It has been, it still is, but we're not at all yet. Not quite. We haven't delivered on this mission and vision quite yet, and we've consistently just kind of like, well, it's okay. Most kids take care of it, most kids meet those, and that's good. Well, I'm here to say, I'd like to help you get to all. This is Forest Hills. I believe we can do it. If anybody can, I think Forest Hills would be that district. So that's the why. This is where I start from. If you want to know where, this is where. If you're going to have a district where all learners are achieving their individual potential, wow, that's massive. I don't know how many of you are in education or know anything about trying to be in a classroom, several classrooms in which you have a diversity of learners that are A to Z, just differences from neurotypical and neurodivergent and way off the charts, gifted and needing support and learning a different language. There is just quite a vast array of students that we have, and we're happy to have them in our district. How are you going to do that? Well, it's through something called MTSS, or multi-tier system of support. So the district said, we need a framework, how we're going to meet individual needs while doing what's best for everyone. The district embarked on what we call MTSS. It's a multi-tiered system of support. I have to do well with my acronyms, so I'll try my best to slow down for those. But basically, it's a research-based strategies designed to help individual students while you are doing your normal classroom day. Teachers need those tools. It is a system, so there are things that are needed for professional learning communities and also lots of people involved in the whole system. We have our leadership, our cabinet, principals talk to ILTs or instructional leadership teams in the buildings, who talk about PBIS, positive behavior, intervention, and academic. And then that last waiver, just individual roles that feed back into that system to say, how are we going to get all learners to achieve their individual potential? That's going to take a lot of people. It's not fast work. So, where does my department fit? Well, we are fit in with that vision. We want all learners to achieve individual potential as well, and we want to focus on how do we close some of the gaps, outcomes, achievement. What professional learning can we offer? Because teaching's not easy. Sometimes you need tools. Many times you need tools. And how do you build internal capacity so that as people ebb and flow and things change, still closing those gaps, having high quality education for everyone and great experiences continue. That's how we're involved. Those my days are keep going. Next speed up. Okay. So back to closing gaps. So the first part of that was closing gaps. Again, this work is twofold with gaps to make it big and easy, probably for the future person. But there are gaps in learning and outcomes, achievement, and there are also gaps in experiences. They just are. Those are the two types of gaps we have. And we are interested because we care about your children and my children and all the children of people who are not here, maybe we'll have them represented here, that everyone has high quality outcomes and experiences. So, educational equity and inclusion DEIB department does this by supporting the district initiatives, very much so to improve and have all learners achieving individual potential. It's getting late. Individual potential. We think about it because that red thread represents equity, and equity for us is ensuring that kids have what they need. Again, we talked about how that's really not easy, but we're about the work, and so that's why we have a multi-tier system of support with all the people involved. So our red thread of equity is we need to make sure in as many situations, all situations, kids would have what they need. They're getting outcomes that they need and experiences that are correct. It's the red thread. We also, thinking about equity, is that we talk about a question of the year. Our red thread question for this year is, your kids are doing better than mine, what are you doing? And so if we want to accelerate equity, if we want to accelerate kids getting what they need, you ask that question in staff meetings. Your kids are doing better than mine, what are you doing? You can ask it on the bus lot, you can ask it in the finance office, you can ask it of principals, you clear out your lot faster than I do, you can ask it of third grade teachers who are teaching multiplication, and like you got 80% of your kids to learn multiplication, what are you doing on your first try? How are you doing that? So we use the red thread to remind us that if anything, we want to get better, faster, we want to improve things, let's ask that question. Your kids are doing better than mine, what are you doing? Insert blank of what area you're in the district. It's doing better than mine, what are you doing? So, that means that we support professional learning communities, plus, which is PLC plus. I said the words first, we have a lot of acronyms in education, but PLC plus or professional learning communities. That's our district initiative to tool teachers and give them strategies to become, have their self-efficacy, so they meet with other teachers, there's collective efficacy, like, we can do this. Although our children are coming in a wide range, with the proper tools and working together, we can do that. So that's PLC plus. It does have a question number 5, who benefited and who did not. If I taught a lesson, like who benefited? Let me see, and who did not? How can I make adjustments? How can I go to my neighbor teacher and support continuing to increase academic achievement? The other thing that we support is positive behavior interventions and supports, which is a consistent and structured behavioral expectations framework for the entire district. I'm sure you've seen it in some form or fashion by now, but it has to do with saying, as a district, what do we expect? So that kids are not always, and parents are not always like, can we say, like, what are our expectations? What do we want kids to aspire to? Can we have something consistent, even though we're in 3 different regions on 3 different times? So this is also an equitable structure because we can help students get what they need. We can support behavior. We didn't talk a lot about MTSS and being a pyramid, but this is an MTSS structure as well. You can have a multi-tiered system of support because we already know students are not the same behaviorally, right? We have differences. We need to support that. And lastly, speed up now, you can see your faces. Belonging. We support belonging. We'll look at some data in just a minute. So our belonging efforts, just, we all know, as a former principal of 2 buildings, have so many conversations with parents who say, gosh, I wish that he or she could find their people. I know they'd want to come to school. I know they want to be there to Masha. So this belonging is serious. The research is clear. When kids feel like they have a sense of belonging, you're happier, you want to go to school, you learn more. My take some AP classes, or become a National Merit Scholar, or become proficient, wherever you are in that spectrum. Feeling a sense of belonging is just huge. Yes.
Masha, I pulled with bad eyes. Is there a chance we can get a copy of the slides later so that we can
Yes.
read it?
Yes. I already have the PDF. I can send it out to this group. Would you all like that?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I'm sending that. Also, because I forgot to say it, on I think it was September 18th. At the board meeting on September 18th, I gave this exact presentation. If you want to see it a lot faster with my back turned to the group, I think you can look all those up. So if you write down 918, I did this exact presentation at the board meeting. Just if you want to see it live. Belonging is important to kids when it comes to school and chief. Okay, I think it's done with that. Okay, so here's a little bit of data. It's not all of the data, it is some data. It represents children, so it's perfect because it represents children. And what you'll see here is we have data, like I have a pointer. At the top side, you'll see the blue, the students that have made it above the line, and it's fantastic. We are a destination district. If the state of Michigan had this in all their schools, you're like calling people like, come on, we'll show you how to do it. This is fantastic. This is great data for any school district. It's fantastic. But what you'll notice is we're not at all yet. We're not at all. And those numbers at the bottom represent children. My kids, your kids, like, okay, do the best you can. How are we gonna get them over the line? How are we gonna get them over the line? If you have kids at the top, and your kids like, I've been hanging around right here in this, ready for them to like, you know, I don't know, be pushed over or something. It's for everyone. We want kids to be pushed, and we want kids moving over the line. It certainly doesn't mean that we want all the kids to get over the same line at the same time, but we want kids over that line. They deserve it. That's what education is for. Whether you get there at the 99th percentile or the 62nd, get over the line. And we're not there yet. That's in language arts. This is what it looks like in math. Again, for the state's context, fantastic. But you can see the numbers at the bottom of those students. I get questions sometimes like, this is forward, how's it weighted? Hey, if it represents kids, that's the weight. I'm not a psychometrician, but all I ask is, do those numbers represent actual children? Yes, they do.
Marshall, I'm not an educator, and I know like you see patients and whatnot do not represent kids well. But what do we feel is our goal here? Is there, I mean, because there really is no end goal. We always strive for continuous improvement. But what is the goal? When do we think we're getting close to arriving?
So that's a wonderful question. You didn't hear my big spiel at the beginning. Were you here at the
I
beginning?
guess not. Oh,
It's
okay.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think you have colleagues that are also peers that are chomping at the bit. So what we said was we put cards on. I'm going to get through the presentation if you can, so that because we can start a good discussion at any place in this. But if I get through it, so we're all on the same page, hearing all the information together, like I did for me. I remember, did I say anything about math? Math, highs, lows, everybody on the line. This is what we want. We're not there yet. Right? Yep. Yes. That's something academic achievement kind of gap data. This is from the perception survey we sent out, I want to say 6 or 7 years now, 5 or 6. In the spring, we asked parents, families, and staff a ton of questions. You get them, usually it's right after spring break, I want to say. And so the last couple of years, we looked at belonging. Like, how do you have a sense of belonging at your school? And what you'll notice is the circles that are open were for 21-22. This past spring are the filled-in circles, and you can see a little bit of movement. If you look at, I have a sense of belonging. Well, we certainly have almost 30% of the kids that responded. That means not all the kids responded. In high school, said no. No. Only 72% said yes. And we will move on. I'll let you look. I think it's interesting to see how the students feel versus how we feel as a families and how we feel as a staff, right? I feel like that's the best part of this data, or the part of the data that is most significant, is we don't all feel the same. And I'm wondering, should we talk to the students about that? Like, that student voice, like, why not? Right? Because if we talked about earlier, kind of important for you to have your people feel good about where you are, so you wanna come to school, do well, take these tests, stuff like that. Right? Alright, so the last part of the section is that this is a system that all works together. It is not about an event, it's about how do we ensure and make sure students have high quality outcomes and high quality experiences. That is that red thread that goes around everything. It's not a piece or a part, it is serious about all the kids. So that was the back section, going on to professional learning and what that looks like. So it's been tentative calendar, it's been tentative a while because we had some differences, some moving pieces, some departures from our district. We had consultants in our district, I've been saying over 15, it's been 17, but for a long time. We had GLI, or Global Learners Initiative consultants in the district. And this year, they decided not to renew for many reasons, that they've not renewed their contract. That means that things that are on their calendar are still there for what they love, because the initiative was started from the district. It's a district initiative and not just from the consultants. So we want to continue the work. And what you'll see is I'm gonna, because I have some slides, try to go quickly as possible. I do have a couple slides explaining these, but like restorative practices, and I don't know how many of you have heard restorative practices. Okay. All right. There is a slide for that, but that is happening in our district, and that is relationship building and community building at its finest. Proactivity and connection, but also when something happens, some harm is done, get back as soon as possible to learning, to the learning space. So talk about that in a minute. Cultural intelligence we offer, again, I have a slide for that, so I'm going to go to things that were directly impacted by GLI. Specifically, we're at October 24th. I put the Equity Community Council dates there. You saw it on your form, so you'll see those, the other two there. And that's what's going on here. The student workshops that our GLI consultants did in the past. They were in 3rd grade, sometimes 4th grade, and they would bring a group of students here to this room actually, and do all sorts of really unifying and inclusive activities for different grade level students. Usually it was, again, I didn't necessarily coordinate them, but I've seen them in action at least once. It's been a couple years, and they did a myriad of activities, again, for connection, inclusion, and unity. One of their big, I think, was our focus areas, do that, is that, yes, we are 3 regions, we are 3 attendance areas, but we're 1 Forest Hills. And they did a lot around, we're 1 Forest Hills. So they're really interested in bringing students from all over the district, like, look, you're a huge community. How do we connect, learn, bond, unify? Come global citizens. So that's what the workshops are. We're still continuing that. What usually happened is in the fall, there were high school students who learned how to support and run these activities with the students. This one is coming in February. I've been in contact with GLI coordinators that are still very excited about that work and said, yes, we'll help you with that. Done that before? Okay. And in terms of the next thing now, sometimes as I go to talk about the same thing, the workshops. So we have support for workshops, no problem, they'll continue. I'm going to skip to Global Champions when we're thinking about the GLI consultants, because our champions work was done by them, created by them, but they also trained many people over the years. And so about 4 weeks ago, maybe, I sent out a Google survey to the entire district and said, hey, you can train Global Champions, you can support this work and train this, please let me know, fill this out. And I got 17 responses from the entire district, and like 1.5 of those could actually do the training or felt like they could. And I only say 1.5 because one of the persons could only do one of the dates, and another person was not physically able to, although she felt comfortable doing so, but could not do it this year. So what I don't have are people that are still able to do that work, and a lot of people who said, hey, if we figure out how we want to change or update, I'm there, I'll do it, but I'm not comfortable doing that in front of adults, so I rather help the students. So I don't know that the the IIRP, which is International Institute for Restorative Practices. Fantastic organization. But basically, it's 2 intense days. When you come, kind of be a better human is what we say. It's just things you have to think about how you process shame and how to interact with you. Go to that training, and the first thing you do is go home and try it on your kids and your loved ones, and how to just be like, oh, from a parent of teenage girls, 16, 17, and 18, I have currently, right now, being able to ask an open-ended question without either a smack or rolling of the eyes, or why would you ask me that? Like, I don't do that anymore. I ask these open-ended questions like, hey, what happened? What were you thinking at the time? What do you think about it now? What did that impact? How do you make it right? When they do all the work, and I don't sound like bad mom, it is amazing. As a principal, I use it at Pine Ridge. After going through the training, and I always tell people this story of this first grader, the day after I came back, it basically says, hey, when you're in trouble, you're already shamed. You already have a sense of shame, and everyone deals with shame in a different way. And we do need to have consequences, absolutely. We still have consequences. We have consequences with everything. But if you find out why, if you can get to the what were you thinking at the time, you can certainly prevent it from happening in the future. You have a greater chance. So I had this first grader come to my office, first day after RP training, get the 4 questions. What are you thinking? What do you think about it now? Those questions. Who impacted and how do you take, and how, who was impacted and what do you want to do to be more responsible? How do you want to take responsibility? First grader, cheating in class on a math test. Comes in, teacher says, Johnny is cheating on his test. All right, here it goes. Are you going to turn into the administrator? What were you thinking? It's been, what are you going to do? It's a first grader cheating on a math test. I sat down, I said, come sit down. Got my questions, I didn't want to get it wrong. I said, what happened? He's cheating on a math test. I was looking at Laura's paper. What were you thinking? What were you thinking at the time? I was thinking she always gets it right and I always get it wrong. Okay. So you need some help with math. So you need some tutoring. Yeah. Like, well, who was impacted? I finished the questions. Who was impacted? The teacher, my mom, dad is gonna be upset. How do we make this right? I'm gonna have to write a letter, or use my recess, apologize to the little girl. When I tell you, hearing a first grader say, I don't know math. It wasn't about cheating on the test. His need and his thoughts were, I don't get it. She does, let's go. That's it. It's very simple. If I can help in math, yeah, I gotta stay in for recess. Sure, there might be some consequences. Embarrassment, but the kid is already shamed. He got brought to the principal's office. His parents have to be called. And it's plenty pound of flesh for me. So, restorative practices teaches you how to ask those questions, and what that looks like. Sorry, soapbox. I'm back. Sorry. I left for a minute. I'm back now. Focus, everyone. On the slide, cultural intelligence. This is also outstanding. And any of these, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out this new space of bringing in parents. If we want to do, at the next session, we can do 3 hours of one of these trainings and talk about it. Cultural intelligence is fantastic. This is where you come and you learn about 10 cultural values and also the 4 CQ capabilities or cultural intelligence capabilities. There are 10 main cultural values in the world. Things like individualism versus collectivism, high context, low context, direct. I can't think of the one with authority. How we process authority, like high power distance. Are you more, I'm going to take one step at a time, or no, I'm going straight to the top. Talk about time and competitiveness versus non-competitive, and what you understand after this training is that many times we think about culture, we're thinking about the surface, kind of above the iceberg, and much of our disagreements and our headbutting has to do with what's below the surface, which you all probably know. But being able to put a name to it, and I always tell the story in that training, like, it was really hard for me during the pandemic as a principal to understand why people just didn't do, hey, we're gonna be online, we're gonna have an online platform, let's roll. And I had a lot of teachers going, whoa, 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 say that again? When, where, what, how long, what platforms? And I'm like, it just got here, it just happened, I've never been in a pandemic before, let's just go. And what I understand understood through this training is some people are just have the cultural value, like, of just not needing a lot of context for things. They just get going. And other people like, hey, I will do a great job if you answer these 10 questions first.